Welcome to the Business Shop Podcast, where our guests speak on meeting the challenges of entrepreneurship, as well as offer tips and advice on business, marketing, technology, and more. Whether you are a newbie or a seasoned professional, this episode is for you. I am your host, Audrey Wiggins. Let's chop it up. Welcome to the Business Shop Podcast, where our guests speak on meeting the challenges of entrepreneurship, as well as offer tips and advice on business, marketing, technology, and more. Whether you are a newbie or a seasoned professional, this episode is for you. I am your host, Audrey Wiggins. Let's chop it up. Hello, Chop Squad. Audrey here. I'm excited as always to be with you and to present another great guest. And our guest today is Paul Furiga, and he is the president and founder and chief storyteller of Word Right. So can't wait to learn more about him as we go forward in our conversation today. So storytelling, this is according to Paul, who plays a critical role in B2B marketing with the approach with clients across different industries. He's covering law, healthcare, manufacturing, finance, and AEC, which is architecture, engineering, and construction. And Paul believes stories are the foundations of businesses' approach to reaching clients. And he believes every business should leverage its capital S story. And he's going to break that down for us throughout the interview here today. So the story that answers why someone should buy from you, work for you, partner with you, or invest in you to drive its growth. Now, Paul, on the other side of this message, we're going to welcome you back to the Business Shop. July 27th is National Love is Kind Day. Show some love through your business. Nurture it, grow it, and watch it flourish. Register now for Elevating the You in Entrepreneur Summit. Learn more at bit.ly/elevate the letter U July 2024. bit.ly/elevate the letter U July 2024. Welcome, Paul Furiga, to the Business Shop. I'm excited to have you here today.
Audrey, thank you so much for having me. And thanks to your audience for being with us. Really looking forward to spending some time with you.
Yes, absolutely. Now, Paul, before we get going, I know you have a new podcast as well. So you want to share a little bit about your podcast? I'm sure it's all related.
As a surprise to no one, given your introduction, Audrey, the podcast is all about that capital S story. It's called Storylines Live. It's on the Marketing Podcast Network. You can find it anywhere you listen to podcasts. Just type in Storylines, one word, second word, live. Storylines Live. Yes. We've got 17 episodes out there and another several that are going to be dropping in the next few weeks. Very excited.
Yes, I'm excited for you. That's this is a great add-on for any business. Paul, before we get going any further, there's I have this new thing that I had started about asking for achievements and fun facts, and you have some interesting things here going on.
Right. Well, one thing is my book, obviously, Finding Your Capital S Story, Why Your Story Trumps Your Brand. That'll be a little bit that we talk about today. Certainly one of the fun things in my life is the band I'm in called the Altered Egos. And it's the fourth band I've been in since what my wife calls my midlife crisis. I was in three at one time.
Oh, wow.
An R&B band, a country band, and a classic rock band. This is it's a great band. We play everything from the 70s to today.
Cool.
In the midst of recording our first album of originals. So we're very
really.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I understand last year you actually did 35 gigs.
We did. It's we actually played twice on a few days. It wasn't as bad as I thought it would be. It's when we got done with the year, we couldn't believe we played 35 gigs. It was fun.
You guys were moving. That's almost a gig a week.
It is, yeah.
About
yeah.
That is
We have between now and the end of the year, we have 25 scheduled,
okay.
and we got a few holes. November and December aren't quite as filled as, or in October aren't quite filled yet, but we're going to be
Mhm.
really busy in May and June, July, and August. So,
Okay. Are those pretty much weddings and graduations and
uh,
just some
we
just
we
gigs,
actually have
period?
we
Mhm.
not to get off the topic of our podcast here,
You're right, right. But this is part of
but
like the well-rounded.
just to tell you the wedding band thing and the graduation thing, there's are bands that only do those sorts of events. And with streaming music these days, people who hire live bands for those events can be very specific about what they want. So you really need to learn certain music and certain things to do. So no, we mostly play at public places. As we record this next weekend, we're playing in Conneaut Lake,
Okay.
Pennsylvania, northwestern Pennsylvania, at a pretty big venue. There's a venue in Pittsburgh where I'm based called Jurgles. We've headlined there 4 or 5 times. We're going to headline there another 3 or 4 times. We usually pull in about 450 to 500 people when we headline at these music venues. We're doing three Fourth of July shows, and
Wow.
yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, that is though, but it's always good to have something else that you do. I'm a musician. I'm not playing or doing anything. Now I have pretty much played in church and but and
Right.
sing every now and then. But it's good to just to know how to do it. And yeah,
Totally agree.
yes. And if I can give a quick shout out to Alexis Morero, her and her band, she is graduating with an engineering degree in electrical engineering in another month or so, and they're doing gigs around the country. So just a little quick shout out there to Alexis. All right, the business chop,
Yes.
Paul Furiga, and let's talk about this word right. Telling our
Sure.
stories.
Sounds great.
Okay, yes, yes. And so you mentioned about, that you were a journalist and that's like
Yeah.
a foundation. So let's start from the beginning of how you even really got into this writing thing.
Yes, absolutely. So when I was growing up, there were two things I wanted to be: a rock musician and a writer.
You've done it.
One where, and I was talking to somebody the other day, they said, "Wow, you've achieved your life's ambition. It didn't come on the right schedule. I wanted to be 20 years old and be a rock star, and
Of
I'm quite
course.
I'm quite happy to be in the band I'm in right now. And our lead singer is 24. She's quite talented. So
Wow.
um, I can keep up. But at my age and having had a full life, I don't need to climb that mountain. I've seen the view and it's pretty good. Now,
Okay.
in terms of journalism, yeah, I was on the Ernest Hemingway plan for success, and maybe a lot of people don't know Ernest Hemingway started out as a journalist, right?
Mhm.
So, yeah, I did that. I covered everything from murders to the White House. I spent 2 decades doing that. And I figured it out one time, Audrey. I wrote 10,000 stories and I edited
What?
another 10,000 stories. Yeah. Yeah. See, I'm old, and I started writing before the internet. I learned my journalism
Mhm.
on these things called typewriters.
Oh yes.
And
Same
yeah,
here.
see, there you go. We relate, right, Audrey? And then,
Right.
computers, right? So before the internet, we used to have these things in newspapers called morgues. You would call them a library. And there were three
Hmm.
people in the library of the Cincinnati Enquirer, where I started my daily journalism career. And they would cut apart several copies of the newspaper every day and paste them into books. That's how you kept track of what you wrote about people before. So when
Yeah.
they digitized that library, they sent me all the books, which is a very nice, kind gesture. And I actually counted the stories. So every
Wow.
now and then I get a little OCD, I guess. Here's the important thing about writing 10,000 stories and editing another 10,000. You're with people in the best of times, Audrey. You're with them in the worst of times. And you come to learn how stories work and what moves hearts and minds and inspires action. And that is
Mhm.
100% relevant to what we do today. When I got into the agency business 25 years ago, I was working at Ketchum Public Relations, which is the fifth largest PR firm in the world. It was a great education. It was like getting a master's degree in storytelling. I worked for all kinds of big brands, Delta Airlines, Federal
Mm.
Express, Firestone, et cetera, et cetera. When I started my own firm in 2002, there was a focus on the story right from the beginning because one of the things I learned in journalism and in working at one of the greatest PR agencies in the world is businesses generally don't know how to tell their story. And in
True.
fact, the more complex or technical your business is, the harder it is for you to share your story. And the reason for that is this, Audrey. If you have a technical solution or product or a complex product or solution, you are very smart about what you do, but the people who are buying from you or working from you, they're probably not as smart about what you do as you are. So you need to be able to explain what you do in a way that they can understand so that they hire you, that they sign and send your checks, right? And that is the focus of our company. The more complex your story is, the happier we are to work with you because we derive satisfaction from moving those hearts and minds and getting people to take that action that makes business leaders happy by delivering results.
When you're sitting across the conference table, or maybe it's virtual with your client, and they're trying to tell you what they do, or you're trying to get them to give you information for a story, is that like pulling teeth, or have what, describe that process?
Well, it can be. Uh, I firmly believe that all human beings, Audrey, are born as creative individuals. Now, over the course of your life, you may have lots of people tell you that you're not creative, or you may find yourself in a profession that you think is not very creative. And, I'm not here to argue that point, but I
Hmm.
will tell you that I believe that when people connect with their passion, they're better able to connect with their story. And that's where we start. We have a tool we use called the five burning questions. There are those questions that are so hot that have to be answered before you have business success. And those help us tease out the story. And what we do in this 21st century, where we're bombarded by information, most of it irrelevant, confusing, or distracting, is we tap deeply into archetypal stories. So if I said to you, Audrey, we got a new client and they do blah, 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 tech, whatever, you may not remember it. But if I said to you that our new client was an underdog story, you or David and Goliath, you would know right away that they're an underdog story. That's
Wow.
an example of an archetypal story. So when
Okay.
we work with clients who provide complex products or services, we're looking to identify the archetypal stories that can be tied to the specifics of their own story, their own products or solutions to make them unique, compelling, and memorable.
How does, because I know people always say, you have to tell your story and be authentic. And
Yes.
so our business stories, are they intertwined with our personal story, or is it just really about the product and the business vision?
That
And
is a great question, Audrey. And the answer is yes. We start with the organizational story because most of our clients are, of course, organizations that are looking to drive success. The individual stories that people think of most when they think of a business are those of the leaders, right? And so there needs to be a relationship between the leader's story and the organization story. It's fair to think of, let's say, the software engineer that develops the successful SaaS platform as a character in the story, uh, a hero, if you will, in the story of the company that's delivering the solution. And the same can be said of other leaders in the organization, the CEO, people who play key roles. And so, yes, we're always looking to tie the role of the individual to the organization. It's fair to ask if you're a highly talented professional and you could be working at a number of companies, why are you working for this company? And that's how the personal story relates to the overall story.
sometimes, I'll pull up and it's like, okay, so what is my story? What is my brand story? And
Mhm.
it can be complicated. And I think we do need someone outside of us to help bring that to light. And then once we have that story, then what's the next step?
Well, we always say that we're working, Audrey, to help our clients first uncover that story, then
Mhm.
develop it. So
Mm.
once you know what your story is, how are you going to share it? Uh,
Okay.
in addition to my book, I was a co-author of a best-selling book called Ready, Connect, Grow. And I wrote a chapter in that book called Your Story is a Diamond with Many Facets. So we know that diamonds are extremely valuable. And one of the reasons why they're so valuable, cut, clarity, the number of facets. The reasons why an employee wants to work for your company and a customer wants to buy from your company may be different, but it's the same diamond, the same jewel, the same story. So developing the story to connect with and move the hearts and minds of different audiences is an important part of the puzzle. And the final piece is sharing that story. So we're in
Mhm.
the business of uncovering, developing, and then sharing the story. And we use every tool in the marketing toolbox to help our clients get their stories out there to deliver business results.
Knock out your competition with Altogether Marketing. We elevate your brand. Take a stance with your business name, logo, the tagline, your colors, even the fonts for your business. And then jab left with your website, jab right with core values. Back up with product experience and bring it on with you. Visit altogether.biz and let us help you create a knockout brand.
What advice do you have for us?
The advice I'd have for everybody who's listening is to think about what your story is.
Mhm.
Why do you do what you do?
Okay.
I mean, think about pre-COVID, Audrey. We used to do a lot of networking meetings, right?
Right.
Every time you go to a networking meeting, what do? We tell people what we do. For me, 2 days later, I'd say to myself, oh, I got this business card from this person. Who were they? What did they look like? Not memorable, nothing unique about it. So I'd suggest that the audience begin by thinking about telling people why they do what they do, as well as what they do. That's what's memorable. That's directly connected to your story.
From there, I want to know more about your book.
Sure. So, Finding Your Capitalist Story, available on Amazon, and also we've got a free chapter for the audience to download from our website, wordwriteagency.com/, finding your capitalist story, finding your capital s story. I'm sure we'll have that in the show notes as well.
Yes, yes.
So I wrote the book to share how we got to the point where we created our own process for uncovering, developing, and then sharing the capital S story of our clients. It's called story crafting, and that's described in the book. A lot of the book lays the foundation, scientific, societal, sociological, for why stories are so powerful. And in the book, I also share examples of great companies that have also been great storytellers, like Southwest Airlines and Nike.
Is there a such thing as telling too much, especially
Absolutely.
especially our personal side into our brand story?
So one of the things that we see frequently that causes trouble for business leaders, Audrey, is trying to say too much.
Mhm.
So we use a tool in our work. It's a part of our process. We call it a message pyramid. So we all know what a pyramid is, but
Mhm.
imagine a pyramid that's turned upside down.
Okay.
So the biggest, flattest part of the pyramid is what you see first. Let's imagine ourselves at a networking meeting again. Somebody says, Audrey, what do you do? The most accessible, simplest, widest answer, like the bottom of what you think of as a pyramid, should be your first couple of sentences.
Mhm.
Then what you want is you want people to tell me more. That's how you know you're engaging people. Oh, really? That's interesting. Tell me more. Tell me more. So, part of our story at our company is when people ask us what we do, I'd say, well, our clients who know us best would say we're great storytellers. We're explorers. We're always on the leading edge of helping our clients uncover, develop, and share their story to drive the best business results. And what I want people to say to me is, tell me more. And then I will share with them as much as they want to know.
Okay.
We've done a lot of work with highly technical organizations like engineering firms. And we worked with one time. I was talking to one of the engineers, and he had the teeniest, tiniest type all over this one slide. I mean, there must have been hundreds of words on this slide.
Mm-hmm.
And the way I found this out is he came to me and said, would you look at this slide and tell me how I can take the page numbers out so I can fit more words on here.
Oh, wow.
And I said, look, you're going at this from entirely the wrong direction.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And, a little sidebar, I do communications for an engineering college.
Well, there you go.
So those are my friends.
Some of those remarks might resemble what you experience, right?
Well, Paul, this has been a real exciting conversation. And when you talked about the inverted pyramid with the storytelling, because sometimes, and it doesn't matter what industry, we always want to start at the lower end, the normal way, but, start at that top of the inverted and like, blah, everything. And then the person across from you trying to, it's like they got, hit with a bat, trying to, to focus and bring back. Okay. So then it's like, okay, so what did you say you did again?
Right.
To start over. Yeah. But I do like that, starting at the, inverted and starting at the smallest point. And broadening out. It's almost like our elevator pitch. That's been, dating ourselves again, going back of being able to get that quick answer. But enough though to spark interest to get back to us.
Exactly right.
Yeah. Paul, again, thank you again for coming today. Let us know how we can get in touch with you and to be able to work with you and help us to get our stories told.
Absolutely. So there are two ways to find me online. Number one, my company is Word, like what we speak, Write, like what we do with a pen, agency.com. All one word, wordwriteagency.com. Or look for Paul Furiga, Furiga, anywhere on social media. You'll find me and you'll find my company.
Awesome. Wordwriteagency.com, Paul Furiga. Very exciting. And thank you again for coming today and sharing with us and telling us how, showing us how we can tell our stories. And Chop Squad, make sure that you follow Paul, because this is very important. And it's a noisy world out there in whatever industry that we're in, and we need to be able to stand out. Thanks, Paul.
Thank you, Audrey. And thanks to your audience for having me. Hope you enjoyed the conversation. And Audrey, shout out to our mutual hometown of Cleveland.
Go Bikes, go Cleveland, the land.
Thank you for listening to The Business Chop. We hope that you were able to glean valuable information from our guest and that you will download and share this podcast. Your rating and review is much appreciated. To go deeper with our guests, please visit their website and social channels. To learn more about us, please visit businesschop.info or altogether.biz, where we will help you expand your brand. Thank you for listening to The Business Chop. We hope that you were able to glean valuable information from our guest and that you will download and share this podcast. Your rating and review is much appreciated. To go deeper with our guests, please visit their website and social channels. To learn more about us, please visit businesschop.info or altogether.biz, where we will help you expand your brand.